All right, so I think we're up on YouTube. Here. I don't know what's happening. Here we go. Okay, I think we're good. And 5 seconds after I'm live, the dogs start going a little nuts. Like, are they on a timer? There was just a hi Sheila. There was just a Facebook meme about your dogs knowing what time it is. So like when you're feeding them dinner, they're standing there staring at you. I swear, mine have now developed the timer for 9:30 a.m. on Saturdays. I swear. All right, so let me just check. I feel like no matter what I do, I'm cutting my head off on YouTube. I have to see if I can fix it. I've turned my camera sideways, and all it does is make the picture sideways. So, let's see if I can't adjust the opening. All right. Here we go. All right. So, happy Saturday. I obviously got my Facebook problem resolved, thankfully. You never know what it's going to be that particular day. Yeah, the dogs are going off now. So, let's see, are we ready? Yeah, we're ready. All right. So, as I said, so as I said to the class earlier this week has just been a little much. And regardless of where you are in that aspect of your life, there's always things in your life that are a challenge, right? But there are many of them you can't just say, "Ah, screw it," and walk away, right? So you have to actively, and I'm going to use the word fight, but you know what I mean, right? You have to actually address the problems and work to resolve whatever it is, right? So you have to, right? There are many things in life that you cannot just walk away from. But if that's all you're doing all the time, you can't continue that way, right? The stress on your body is terrible. It just takes too much out of you, right? So you have to recharge. And after this past week, I need a lot of recharge. I need to sit on the charger for 3 days, which is a good thing because I mostly can. Right? Nice little long weekend. Let me control the monkeys. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. No, Yeah, I don't know. They're on a timer. 9:30. 9:30. So being this recharge, right, is a lot of folding forward, moving inward, and just kind of resetting, taking a little moment to see where you're at, see if you're good, right, or if you need a little love, right? So if you're totally fine and you want to incorporate other things, say twists and back bends and whatever else into the practice, feel free to do that. You can absolutely do that. Otherwise, our focus is really moving forward, moving very deeply into the hamstrings. So prop yourself when you need to, right? Go deeper or not, right? Just like always, right? That going within gives you that minute to figure out what you need. So let's begin. Bringing yourself to a comfortable seat here, aligning the heels to the groin. Taking inner thigh rotation. If you saw, it's just a habit to sit down like this, moving the flesh out from underneath the seat. And then engaging the lower belly so we can sit up tall here. We are going to be here a little bit like we did last week. So really make sure that the place for your pelvis is upright, right? If you start to get a little lazy and it rolls back, that's hard on your back, on your hips, on everything else from there. So engaging the lower belly by lifting the pelvic floor, the lower belly's coming in and up. We're tall through the sides, but relax through the hips and shoulders as much as we can be. Extend out the crown of your head. Go ahead and close your eyes and imagine the bottom tips of the ears moving back until you feel the head right over the shoulders. It might not take much. Hopefully it doesn't. And then just taking a moment to be here. Noticing what feels good and what you'd like to feel better. Noticing the cues that your breath is giving you. It will, for sure. What is it telling you at this moment? Begin to let the breath expand. Eventually finding that just beyond comfortable yoga breath. And just remember, regardless of where the body goes or does not go, to keep the breath in this place, the mind connected. And let's begin to add movement. So extending the arms. Let's go ahead and inhale, lift up. Exhale, come on down. Again. One more like that. And then back to the top, inhaling. Exhaling the left hand back to the mat and taking a nice tip over to the left. Big full breath here. And then inhaling to come back to the top. Taking it over to the right. Inhaling center. And we'll go once more like that on each side. So back over to the left. Maybe move a little deeper, draw the shoulder back, extend through the crown of the head. You decide. And then back to center. And over to the right, last one. We'll inhale back to the middle. And then exhale to release the arms. Sitting tall here, let's go ahead and bring the right hand to the left knee, the left hand behind the back, giving yourself an easy little twist. Keeping the pelvis upright, using that left arm as much as you need. And then we'll come on back to the middle, over to that second side. Releasing to center. Let's go back to the first side and make this one deeper. So using the arms maybe a little bit more. Sitting taller, pulling against the knee to rotate the belly. Side ribs. Shoulder. Looking over that shoulder. Keeping the breath full. And then releasing that back to the middle, we'll take the second side. Same idea here. Sitting extra tall and rotating around all the way up the spine. Let's release that back to center again here. Bring the hands to the knees. With the inhale, draw the shoulder blades together on the back, lifting the chest. And then exhaling to round the spine. Think forehead to belly button. And then just flow in and out. Moving as evenly up and down the spine as you can. Let's take one more flow. And then coming back to a center, sitting nice and tall. From here, taking the fingers to interlace behind the lower back, we're going to draw the shoulder blades together on the back and stretch the knuckles toward the floor. So they probably touch the floor here, and they may or may not continue. So we want to keep the shoulders back. We're going to hinge forward. Think belly button to heels, keeping the shoulders drawn together on the back and the head in line with the spine to avoid rounding through the back. On the inhale, coming back up to the top, before you release your fingers, think about which thumb you have on top back there. And then release the hands, and we're going to switch the feet. So whatever foot you have forward, put that one behind. And ideally here, the heels are still aligned. The pelvis is definitely still upright. We're going to release the fingers with the other thumb on top. So if it feels weird, it should. Pulling shoulder blades together here, sitting nice and tall, and then hinging forward here. So same idea, belly button to heels, the spine is tall, the head is in line with the spine. Nice big breaths. And if you can go a little bit deeper into the hinge, feel free. But notice if maybe you can't, because it's not the way you always do it. Taking one more nice big breath here. And on the next inhale, hinging back up again. Releasing the arms, and we'll take the legs and stretch them out long. And just take a moment. Make sure you still feel upright on your pelvis. Feet are hip bone distance apart and the toes are pointing toward the ceiling. Right? So it's as if you were standing on your legs. So if it helps to sit up tall, keeping the hands back by the hips, then that's where you're at. Right? If you'd like to extend the arms, try and keep the shoulders relaxed and the spine tall as you hinge forward. Wherever the hands are, just let them be. So maybe they fall to the floor, maybe they're still back by your heels. Try not to reach toward your toes. You might touch your toes, but you might not. And that's okay because that's not what this pose is called. So just finding the stretch, taking your time with it. Noticing what changes after a few breaths. With the next inhale, we're going to come back up again. Releasing the arms. So let's go ahead and open the feet, right? Take a straddle. And just enough to feel the inner hip, right? It's still very early. We're going to be here for a little while. So as you get a little warmer, this may change, but start where you have a stretch and don't worry about the rest. So the pelvis is upright, your spine is nice and tall here. The hands don't have to move. But if you'd like, extend them up again. We're going to rotate the belly around toward the right leg, and then we're going to fold here. And again, just let your hands be where they are. Check in with the pelvis. We still want that left cheek rooted to the floor. The shoulders are down and back. The chest is open. And the head is in line with the spine here. If you'd like a little bit more sensation, pressing harder into that right hand, you might be able to rotate your belly button more toward the leg. You got one more breath here. With the inhale, making your way back up to the top, we're going to rotate around to the left and do the same thing here, letting the hands fall. Grounding the pelvis, lengthening the spine. Rotating the belly, maybe. With the next inhale, we're coming back up to the top again. Releasing the hands. And from here, taking that right hand, pinning it underneath your left thigh. Reaching the left arm up, we're going to hinge over toward the right toes, but don't worry about that. See about bringing this elbow to the inner thigh, maybe to the floor. And then you're going to press against it. Imagine rotating the belly toward the ceiling instead of the floor. Taking the shoulder back, looking up at the shoulder. If it's too much with the arm, it can come to the hip. The hand can come to the hip. Right? You can still rotate and open toward the ceiling. So just remember to do what's right for you here. With the next inhale, we're going to come back up to the top. Release the right hand and then switch. Take the left hand and pin it underneath. Reaching up, hinging over, digging the elbow in there, and then rotating the belly more toward the ceiling. Check in with the pelvis. Make sure your spine feels long. You don't want to feel all squished over. Like, it's great to touch your toe here, but this isn't the pose, right? So find length, find space. Big full breaths. With the inhale, we're coming back up to the top again. And then releasing the hands to center. So again, sitting nice and tall here. Shoulders down and back. We're going to hinge forward. And think taking your belly button to the floor. It might not come anywhere near the floor. Just keeping the alignment of the spine. And I know lots of people feel like they have to reach, right? Reach for something. And I suppose if you have to reach, you can reach out toward your toes. And don't worry about touching them necessarily. Just in that direction to help keep the shoulders down. And they don't have to, of course. Right? On the next inhale, let's go ahead and hinge back up again. And we'll bring the feet back together. Bounce around, stretch them out, whatever you gotta do there. And then let's come around onto hands and knees. So letting the fingers spread nice and wide, grounding into the four corners of the hands here. Instead of being in this tabletop though, let's go ahead and step the knees back or the hands forward, whatever makes it happen, shifting into kneeling plank. So the shoulders are neutral on the back, the belly's pulled in. We want to avoid sagging through or letting the pelvis hang, but in the reverse, sometimes the hips stick back and the shoulders really spread wide. So find your middle. And you can absolutely stay on the knees. If you'd like, lift the knees away from the mat. Pressing through the heels, engaging the legs. So finding that place for your shoulders, for your pelvis, the whole time, because especially as you hold, you might get a little tired. So let's go ahead and lift the hips then, make your way to down dog, and just let yourself stretch. So wiggle a little bit through your shoulders, adjust your hips, bicycle your heels, whatever works for you. And then start to settle in. So pressing the heels toward the mat, pressing the chest back toward the thighs here. Finding neutrals for your backside even here. And that's, again, a little more challenging than when you're sitting or standing up. Let's keep what we have. We're going to lift the right leg, pressing through your heels. Keeping the shoulders level, open the right hip, take your toes high, and maybe bend at the knee. Let's take the legs straight, square the hips again, release the toes.
And take that same idea to the second side, so lifting the left. Keep the hips square for just a second and see if you can get a little extra extension. Pressing out through the heels. Allowing the hip to open then, and bending at the knee, working to keep the shoulders square. Let's release that side. And from down dog, shift back into your plank. Find your neutral spine, make sure your belly and your legs are working here. And then as controlled as you can, let's drop it down to the belly. Keep the elbows into the sides, all the way down. And then if the hands landed underneath the shoulders a little bit, bring them back. Right. Hugging the elbows in, let's just roll our shoulders a little bit. On the inhale, pull them up by your ears, together on your back, down toward your hip bones, and then exhale, release. So just rolling in through the shoulders, getting a little bit more mobility there. One more flow like that. And then rest for a moment. This time we're going to hold. So let's roll the shoulders again. Holding in this position. Imagine pulling with your hands to lengthen your spine. And then maybe pressing in and coming a little higher. Keep the elbows hugging into the waist. Feel the shoulders neutral on your back. Are your hands pretty even on the floor? Hopefully, yes. We'll release it. And then just as controlled as you can on the way back up to plank, kneeling plank if that's you, all the way back to your down dog. And then we'll step the feet forward and come into a standing fold. Feet up underneath the hip bones, toes pointing forward. Bending the knees if you need. Index and middle fingers are going to wrap around the big toes. Taking the legs straight if you can, or straighter. Bending the elbows out to the sides to, again, keep the shoulders together on the back a bit. You can give yourself a little bit more stretch by pulling against the toes. And then releasing the toes. Bending the knees again here, as much as you need to get the backs of your hands flat to the floor. So palms are face up. And again, if the knees need to be bent, they're bent. Maybe they can be a little straighter. And if you're playing here, from the tops of the toes here, the tips of the toes maybe, take your hands and slide them underneath your feet. Right hand under right foot, left hand under left foot. See if you can work your toes to your fingers. Again, even if the knees are bent, you can make this happen, right? So if the legs are straight, they're straight. See if you can bend your elbows out to the sides a little bit to align the spine. And then we'll release the hands. Slide those hands up to your thighs. Take your legs straight if they're not already. We're going to come halfway up with the upper body. And just hold in the middle. The shoulders are back. The belly's engaged here. Bending into the knees, find chair. Hang on, come center, extend, wherever the arms want to be today. We're going to take one more breath. And then with the inhale, let's come all the way up, releasing the arms. So moving through some sun salutes here. Remember to listen to your body, modify, work with your breath. On the inhale, stretch the arms up. With the exhale, bring yourself into fold. Inhaling, come halfway up. And then exhale and step yourself back into a plank. Take the knees if you'd like, dropping down to the belly. And then rolling into cobra. Releasing, exhaling, move back to down dog. Inhaling, step forward, fold. Come halfway up, inhale. Back over again. Reaching for the ceiling. And then exhaling to release. Just like that again. Inhale and lift. Exhale and fold. Halfway up. Exhale back to plank. And drop on down to the belly on that same exhalation if you can. Inhaling as you roll up. Exhaling to release. Inhaling as you step forward. Next inhale, halfway up. And then back over. All the way up. And exhale. So we'll add on with this next one or not. You get to decide. Right? You're the leader. Right? Inhale, sit into chair. And then exhale into your fold. Halfway up. Back to plank. And down to the belly. Rolling into cobra. And releasing, down dog. Right foot's gonna step forward. Toes to fingers, heel or knee to the mat, and we lift. Exhale back down again. Stepping back to down dog. Sliding forward plank. Down to the belly. Into cobra. And back to down dog. Left foot forward this time. And lift. Back over into lunge. Down dog. Into plank. Exhale down. Cobra. And then back down dog. Holding your down dog, dropping into child's pose if that's better for you. Big full breaths wherever you are. Breathe in. Taking one more breath. And if you drop down, lift back to down dog. With the next inhale, we're going to come and step to fold. Halfway up. Back over again. And then into chair. Exhaling to release it. All right. So we'll start our standing poses then, taking a short step back with the right foot. Working into warrior one here. So all 10 toes point forward. The hips are square, shoulders are square. Bending into this left knee with the right heel grounded on the mat. And then let's take the arms and stretch them up. From here, take the fingers and interlace behind the lower back. Drawing the shoulders toward each other, stretching the knuckles back toward that right heel so that the front of the body stays long as we hinge forward, bringing the belly toward the thigh. Letting the hands lift up off the lower back or not. Keep the shoulders pulling toward each other, the head in line with the spine, and then see if you can take the left leg straighter. Let's release the fingers to the floor. Come up on the back toes, and then lift the right foot away from the floor, working toward warrior three, pressing out through the heels, both legs straight if you can manage that. The hands can stay on the floor, climb up to the thigh, fly, wherever they go. And then taking the hands back to the floor, instead of keeping your hips square, allow your right hip to open and lift so that the toes can move a little higher. Think pointing your toes toward the ceiling. And then think folding your chest toward your left shin. And maybe you need your hands or maybe you don't. Releasing it all. Let's step that right foot back to the floor. Lift the upper body up. Back into warrior one variation. And then release it, stepping back to the top of the mat. All right. So now you kind of have an idea of where we're going. Let's see what happens over on that second side. Left foot, short step back. The toes point forward. Bending into the right knee, keep that left heel on the mat. The hips and the shoulders are square, we reach the arms. And then the fingers interlace behind the lower back. You can take reverse prayer too if that's something that appeals to you. The shoulders pull together, the knuckles reach for that back heel. Coming forward, belly to thigh. Feel even on your feet. Square in the hips. And feeling steady enough to take the right leg straight or straighter. Releasing the fingertips to the floor. Little bend into the right knee here. And then lifting the left toes away from the mat. Legs are straight if we can manage that. At least the left leg can be, right? And then maybe the hands stay on the mat. Maybe not. Lifting the upper body parallel to the floor, flying the arms if you want to fly the arms. And then release the hands to the floor. Open the left hip and take the left toes high. The hands can stay on the mat or not. Go ahead and square the hips again, bend into the right knee. Stepping the left foot back to the floor and lifting the upper body. Releasing the arms. Stepping back into a down dog. And then dropping on down into a child's pose. So from your child's pose, let's go ahead and lift up into down dog again. We're going to step the left foot forward and come into a lunge. Let's take the hands and walk them around into the center of a straddle. Starting here with the toes pointing forward. Let yourself hang for a moment and just feel even on your feet. Keeping the hips in line with the ankles rather than leaning back or forward. And then just like we did with the legs together, the feet together, you can bend at the knees if you need. We're taking index and middle fingers and wrapping them around the big toes. Bend the elbows out to the sides here, again, pulling on the toes to deepen the stretch. And then releasing the toes. Taking the fingers here to interlace behind the back again. Drawing the shoulder blades together on the back, stretching the knuckles away. Release the hands, take them to the floor. And then if this is a wide enough stance for you, you are done. Right? But maybe you can walk the feet a step wider. Four corners of the feet on the floor, the hips in line with the ankles, yeah? Maybe a step wider. You go as wide as your body allows you to go. And when you found that point, turn your fingers around to point behind. If your bottom is really high from the floor, don't do the rest. But you can walk your hands back as far as they go and then sit back. Try not to pull your hands out from underneath your legs because we're not done. From there, you have to get yourself back up. So pushing into the hands, walk them back in, back to your feet, walk the feet back together. Let's walk the hands back around toward the left foot, lunge to the top of the mat, and then step that right foot forward into a fold. Shoot, now this should be nothing, right? Let's take a bend in the knees here. On an inhale, go ahead and roll your spine all the way up to standing. We have one more balance piece here. Okay. So if you want to be off your mat or near a wall, just in case, you're welcome to do that. So, standing tall, taking all the weight over into the left foot, let's lift the right leg. And you can absolutely just hang on here and hang out, right? This is balancing. See if maybe though you can reach down for your shin and pull that leg in a little closer to your chest. Hips are square, that left leg is straight, you're standing tall, yes. As long as you have all of that, right index and middle fingers, reach down for your right big toe. And then maybe the leg is straight. That foot points forward here, not out into no man's land. But maybe go ahead and open it, but like on purpose, right? Bring it back to center. And then release. So the idea is to stand nice and tall, and everybody wobbles, don't worry about wobbling. But if you felt like you could do nothing but wobble, take it back a notch and it shouldn't be so terrible. So let's work that second side, taking all the way over to the right, lifting the left. Hang on behind the thigh, maybe in front of the shin. Maybe the index and middle fingers find the big toe. And that leg doesn't have to be straight, right? Stand up nice and tall. Maybe the left leg is straight. Point it forward first. And then let it open. You got one more breath. Bringing it back to center and then releasing. All right. So let's reach up and fold forward. Allow yourself to hang for a moment. Bend into the knees if you like here. Let your head hang, certainly. Cross the elbow if that feels good. We'll step back to down dog again. And then drop on down into a child's pose. Take just a couple of breaths, kind of regroup. How are we doing, guys? From your child's pose, coming back up onto the knees here and bringing the legs around front again. Sitting nice and tall, making sure that the pelvis is upright. Let's go ahead and reach the arms and hinge forward into that fold again. So I'm gonna bet this one's a little bit deeper than the one we started with, right? Even if you have to bend the knee, go ahead and reach around and grab onto your right foot. So bend the knee if you need to bend the knee. Hang on, lean back. So picking the foot up off the floor. Lift your toes as high as they'll go, bending the elbows out to the sides. If you're a hyperextender, just watch this right knee. Don't make it too straight. You might actually need a little bit of a bend in it. Keeping the chest open and lifted. We're gonna bend the right knee and bring it in toward the right armpit. Okay? So then a little bit of forward and back. Pull, see if you can bring the knee behind the armpit even, and then release, pressing forward again. So in and out like that. And then pull it back and hold it there. So this is good. Maybe you can release the right hand, bring it underneath the shin, and sort of rest the shin on the right arm. Yeah, kind of. From there, see if you can pull back, and instead of having your knee to the outside of your shoulder, see if you can pull it back more. And maybe even climb your right shoulder in front of or behind, depending on how your brain sees it, the knee. So you're kind of throwing your knee over your shoulder, like your leg was your bag, like your suitcase or your purse or whatever. Yeah. Take your left hand and reach for the outside of your foot. This gets a little complicated, so wherever you are, I'm sure is not a normal position, right? See if you can release your right hand then and bring it in front of your right sit bone. Give your thigh something to press against and see if you can take your right leg straighter. Maybe it will not go straight. Don't worry about that. Sit as tall as you can. And then gently release. Releasing the right leg down by the left. Sit nice and tall for just a second. Regroup if you got a little crooked on your pelvis. Let's sit nice and tall again. Reach the arms, and we're going to hinge forward here. So again here, bending the left knee if it needs to be bent. Hang on to the foot. Both hands, wrap it around good. And then hang on and lean back. So again here, we're lifting the toes, we're lifting the chest, maybe bending the elbows. Have the knee bent if it needs to be bent. And then bending the knee here again, kind of pulling it in toward the armpit, pressing away, and pulling it back. In and out like that. Pull it back as far as it's gonna go. Release the left hand, bring it up underneath the leg. Kind of hang out there. Again, still kind of weird. But then see if you can sort of wiggle so that instead of having the shoulder inside of the knee, it's either behind or in front of, again, depending on your perspective. Like you're gonna throw it over your shoulder. Taking the right hand to the outside of the left foot. The left hand as close to your sit bone as you can get it. And then you take that leg straighter. So straight or not straight, try to keep your spine nice and tall here. Breathe. And then gently release that side. Sit up nice and tall. One last time, reach up. Hinge forward. Lengthen your spine. We'll inhale back up again. Releasing the arms. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. Draw the heels in. You may want to scoot forward on your mat so you have some place to roll back to. Hang on to your ankles, lift your chest, lean back enough to balance. I'm just turning around, don't mind me. And then C-curve your spine and roll on down. Let the feet come to the floor with the knees wide, resting the belly, the back, the inner hip, wherever you're feeling this the most. And then bringing the knees together. Let's draw the knees into the chest. And just let yourself rock a little bit, massaging your back against the floor. Rocking side to side. Let's open the arms into a T position. Keep rocking. And let your rock get bigger and bigger. And the next time you're over to the right, let the rock get all the way to the floor. Let your legs rest for a moment. Coming back up to center, rock. Big rock. And the next time the legs are over to the left, just drop them all the way to the floor over on the left. And hold. Let's come on back to center again. Rock. Let the rocks get smaller. Until you're back at center. Just hugging the knees into the chest. Pulling the forehead in to meet the knees. And then releasing it out into a full body stretch. Lengthen your spine. Release your stretch. We'll bring the arms down by the sides and make the body comfortable for Shavasana. So whether your legs are extended, your feet are flat to the floor, you're seated up against the wall position, propped, whatever it is for you. And then let your body rest. Coming back slowly to the breath. Staying focused here. And just allow yourself a few minutes to rest. Slowly draw in a deep, cleansing breath. And then let it all go. Starting small, restoring movement to the body. Gradually moving and stretching. And when you're ready, keeping the eyes closed and the mind quiet, gently make your way back up to seated. Sitting well, and bringing the palms to touch. Bowing to the light within. Namaste. Thanks for practicing with me today. I hope you enjoyed that, regardless of where your body did or did not get. Right? And I hope you feel recharged and refreshed to keep the fight. Right? Thanks, you guys. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week if I don't see you before. Bye. Hey. Hold on. I wasn't quite done with yours.